Hi.
Hi,
There was no big flashy like we're recording. So
we are on.
I assume we're recording. Okay, I am so excited about this, Kelly. So
Me too.
Kelly, ladies and gentlemen, is one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. I've known her for over 30 years, and she and I were on the track team together at the University of Idaho. And then when I first moved to Denver, she was my roommate. I'm talking like not, we had the same bedroom. We were that close to roommates and never got sick of her. Always wanted more of her. I just love you. And so now she lives in Portland, Oregon, and I live in Denver. And any
Bend. I
chance,
live in Bend.
oh, sorry, that's right, in Bend,
Bend.
Oregon. What am I thinking? Yes. I mean, I visited you there 3 times. That's funny. I think and then Kelly lives in Salem, and I've also said Portland for her too. But, anyways, all that to say, when somebody comes to me and says, Jill, what do I do about nutrition? I say, well, let's talk to my friend Kelly because she is a registered dietitian and has over 26 years of experience, clinical experience, which really makes me feel old when I say that.
Right?
Because we were in school together and I know when you got your degree.
Yep.
And actually, I still feel like it's funny because when you talk about somebody that has a lot of experience, to me, like a doctor that has a lot of experience, to me, that sometimes feels like, okay, yes, great, they have a lot of experience, but they're also a long ways from the newest stuff coming out there. Sometimes we get into our old fashioned ways and we're not open
Hmm.
to new ideas. And so you're kind of that good balance of both. And I know you personally and well enough to know that you are open to new ideas. So, the Arate Warrior motto is trying to help moms reach their full potential in spirit, mind, and body. And in doing so, empowering them to then turn around and help their kids do the same.
Mm.
And the key component of that to me so often comes back to your energy and your vibrance. And it is just so much easier to make a good decision about what you're going to consume or how you're going to move or whatever, how you're going to respond to your children or your husband or anything else, if you feel good in the first place. So I'm really excited today to talk to you about the nutrition piece because we talk a lot about the sleep, the exercise obviously is my kind of niche, or niche, however you say that word. There's self-awareness that I'm always trying to dig into. And you are going to start by telling us a little bit about your nutrition, or your degree, or what you do nutritionally. But
Hmm.
specifically, you have extra success. I mean, you have a special way of doing things. And so I'm really excited to talk to you a little bit about what makes your practice and how you do things so successful.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'm honored to be here. I love your energy. Speaking of energy, I've always loved your energy. It's so contagious. You are always happy and smiling and put a smile on my face when I see you. And so yeah, I remember when I first met you, I just instantly clicked with you. And like in track, I could hear Jill all the way across the dome. But you're such a hard worker, and that's always so inspiring to me as well. And when you share your newsletters, I I get so much value out of reading your
Oh,
newsletters.
thank
You're
you.
a really phenomenal writer
Well,
and
thank you.
storyteller, and just like a synthesizer of observations, and then like putting it into practical steps. So I love what you're putting out there.
Thank you.
And this whole idea of like helping moms to help their kids, it's just amazing. And thank you for saying that I'm more like an evolved dietitian after 26 years. I do like to think that I am definitely keeping up with the times, and I do credit a lot of that to my current job that I've had for 13 years. I work for a company that makes and manufactures nutrition supplements, and they are definitely a functional medicine minded company. And so they're really into like that holistic, getting to the root cause of whatever your issues might be, not treating symptoms, but getting to actually why you're having the symptoms to begin with. And of course, we sell supplements for this kind of thing to support the people, whether it be short term or long term. But I have just spent a lot of time within the company going to like conferences, functional medicine conferences, and really staying up on like the research with supplements is always evolving. So that has certainly helped me a lot keep up on things. Um, but yeah, so I really feel like I came from this like clinical, science-minded background. I'm a very much a science person. And I will say that the stuff that I learned in college is I don't really use any of that besides the biology and
Yeah.
the chemistry. What I learned how to treat people as a dietitian, it doesn't work. I don't do it that way. It's not a Band-Aid does not work. So I really do find so much more success in looking at the body as a whole complex network of systems that all interact rather than just looking at each thing as a silo. So when I'm helping somebody, if they're exhausted, struggling with weight, having cravings, having gut issues, I'm not just handing them a meal plan. I am really taking into consideration their blood sugar. Are they detoxifying? What is their nervous system doing? I'll look at like their menstrual cycle to get an idea of like the cycling of the timing of that and with hormones, sleep, stress. So I really take into consideration all of this in order to really hone in on what is keeping that person stuck. Because a lot of times the woman is not struggling with healthy eating. It's more like they're struggling with the ability to sustain it. And whether that be like an emotional load or a mental load or a physical load, it could be something in the diet as well. This is where I come in to like really hone in and see exactly where it's kind of falling apart.
Do you know one thing you just said about the root cause, and this is why I'm a big fan of integrative and functional med as well.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if we've talked much about this, but I was told, well, Allie and I had agreed that we were not going to do in vitro to have babies. And Isaac took 5 years to make, and Nadia, we had a miscarriage before Nadia came along, and the doctor did a DNC and did a test on this baby and said, "Oh, Jill, you're a carrier for such XY LMNOP gene,
Uh-huh.
some sort of gene.
Yeah.
And that's why your body got rid of this pregnancy. It was not a viable baby.
Yeah.
But, oh my goodness, your body might not get rid of the next one. So we have to do IVF now." And they were so excited because that's where they make their money. And I was devastated because Allie and I had already agreed that we weren't going to do IVF. We didn't need to spend $20,000 on a maybe baby. We could just
Yeah.
go adopt. I didn't need it to be my DNA. I just wanted to be a mom. And I was devastated. And my mother, who's very Catholic and very open to good new ideas, sent me an article on the Catholic Church's version of infertility, which was, we're going to go in there and find out why your body's not ovulating when it's supposed to, or making eggs, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
We're going to go in and fix that. And when I heard that, and by the way, it started by saying this way is more successful than IVF. Even their way is more successful than IVF.
Wow.
And it was doing exactly what all I ever wanted to do in the first place, which was to find out why my body wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing. Because that's kind of my background as well, as the root cause of how do we make things work the way God intended them to work.
Yes.
And so sure enough, we did get our little miracle baby. But so I'm 100% on board with what you do and how you find those,
Yeah.
root cause things. Now,
And that's
what
such a
is,
great story. It's not to bash IVF at
oh,
all, because it
no,
has
no, no,
helped a
no,
lot of people. And
absolutely.
also, you're pointing out that there's the ways that you can naturally go about supporting your body so that it can make a baby
Yeah.
successfully. And
Or
it's
eat healthy.
environmental, it's
Yes.
nutritional, whether you're having deficiencies. And also, I believe a lot has to do with environmental because we're exposed to a lot of toxins that just don't create the right environment in
Mhm.
the body or for the body to be able to healthily procreate.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
plays a huge role.
what's that?
Breast also plays a huge
Oh,
role
yeah.
in being able to have a baby, and that affects your thyroid and your adrenal glands. And if that HPA axis is all messed up, you won't be able to have a baby.
Right. And this
Yeah.
is why I kind of started the Arte Warrior program is as an expert in, or an exercise sort of expert.
Yeah.
Bodies weren't changing,
Mm.
and you would notice if you were just doing nutrition, bodies
Yeah.
aren't changing. You can tell somebody
Yep.
till you're blue in the face how to exercise or what to eat and how to eat and when to eat, and nothing's going to change if
Yeah.
all the components like you're talking about are situated to their
Yeah.
advantage.
Yeah. It's so
So,
true.
so how do you find out, for example, what are some special tools you use to figure out what's the best way to serve somebody or what they need most?
So I really, really listen to their story. And it's interesting because I usually have I always actually have like a free, shorter 15-minute discovery call with somebody just to see if we're a good match and just to hear like what's going on with them. Because usually I'm people are reaching out to me as like a last resort. They've always usually tried it out on their own, and it's just something's not working. So I'm listening for that thing that I can like really kind of poke holes into, like, okay, let's really go there. What's going on with that? And then that's what I'm focusing on. I can usually almost always end that call with like a couple blaring things that I can tell already we need to really focus on. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but that's the part that once we fix that, that will really help a lot of other things that I also could hear in the person. But I will say that one thing that really, there's a couple things. So the first thing that I believe helps me a lot with the women that I've been helping is I spent 4 years working with people who had eating disorders. And these clients really impacted me and also gave me a very deep education and understanding about the emotional and the mental side of eating and how like stress and control and perfectionism and conditioning from perhaps the way that your mom or dad like dieted or viewed food or rewarded with food, how all of that pressure can really impact your ability to be able to sustain weight loss and keep it off if that was their goal, for example. So this a big part of what I do is helping people reconnect to their body. And it's amazing how often I have to help them with that. Things like hunger cues, fullness cues, satisfaction, and then even just trusting that. And so that is like a big part of it. That's to me, that's almost getting to the root of
Yeah.
why they could be overeating, why they're having cravings, because they're just disconnected from knowing when they're hungry and not and or ignoring it because they have a diet culture mindset that they've grown up with. So they're really trying to restrict too much for the sake of like losing weight, and it backfires because the hormones are also working against you in this regard. So I spend a lot of time with people really helping them trust their body and really pay attention to those subtle cues. That's part of it. At the same time, changing up your eating if that's necessary as well. And then another tool that I use is called human design. And I know you and I have talked a lot about human design. And human design is the way that I explain it is it's like this very practical framework that helps you understand how you're wired to operate in every part of your life, such as how you're meant to make day-to-day decisions. Everybody has this place in their body that speaks to them to be a yes or a no when it comes to making decisions in life. We've always been taught, I believe, that you make those decisions from your mind, but then in reality, that really can keep you stuck or anxious or afraid or kind of playing small in life. And in reality, there's a place in your body that just feels right or wrong. Like you can just, if you can tune into that, it's going to guide you correctly every single time. And so that's my favorite part about it, the most useful part about it, but it also shows me how people are processing emotions, how their body is handling mental or physical stress and pressure. I can see like what someone's God-given superpowers are and put those into really detailed words, which makes some people feel like, holy smokes, how do you know that? And also, wow, now I feel this, and now I can really open it up and like step into it because you've just highlighted it even more than I've ever been able to describe how I feel in my own body. And I can help people how to optimize their energy levels. I can show where they're leaking energy, like because a lot of people come to me, they want more energy. So this is one way to assess energy is through their human design. And I can see if they're more designed for flow in their day or if they really like routine and structure. And so this has given me so much information about somebody because instead of guessing what I think could be going wrong with the person, I can immediately like see in their human design chart where they could be operating in like a low expression and then how we can work with that and optimize it to be functioning in an easier, more high expression sort of way.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
This is well, it's and things are like pinging into my head of like, oh my gosh, I want to ask you about this. I want to ask you about this. But when you were saying like basically in the beginning, learning how to listen to your body and
Yeah.
listen to the cues and listen to your hunger, etc. Most mothers in particular, we are too busy trying to save the world to listen to our bodies or our brains or anything for that matter. And
Right.
when you first taught me a little bit about my human design, you gave me permission to follow that gut heart-wrenching yes. My job is to follow the yes. Like you gave me permission to really actually have fun and enjoy my everyday. And while we were talking on the
Oh,
phone, I remember this, I was folding laundry. And I was so excited to be talking to you on speakerphone while I was folding laundry because I actually like folding laundry. I like watching a pile go from that disaster to organized and beautiful, and you just see the progress and all this stuff. And you were saying, you're supposed to follow your yeses, and don't worry, the laundry will still get done. And I was doing the laundry. I was like, yeah, no,
oh,
I'm
that's
loving
so
doing the
funny.
laundry. But you also taught me that Nadia needs a minute. And her decisions aren't going to, especially big ones, aren't going to come from her gut and just, she's not going to know right away. And so when we were trying to talk to her about maybe potentially moving schools, for example, because we were going to move, the old me would have said, are you coming? Are we staying? Are we going? What are we doing? Like, give me the answer.
Yeah.
But I knew, per your education to me, she needs a minute. And so I didn't press and I let her have her days to decide. And she did on her own. And it was all, but as a parent, that was super helpful because you can see where the rub would have come from. I'm just a fly by the seat of her pants. My gut's going to tell me and I'm going to go. So I would expect everybody else around me to be that way as well. And it also brings me back to when I was coaching teams for my Advocare business, we did a DISC personality test one day with my whole team. It was DIS or C were your personality types after you took this little test.
Yeah.
And there were very few D's in the room. My husband was one of them. And I was an I, which is like, let's go, let's go. And I was looking across the room at all of these C's. I had two S's, but all these C's. And the C's are the accountants. They're the ones that need all the information before they can make a decision. And I'm going to freak them out with my energy of let's go.
Yeah.
And that is what was happening is I was just too much for them. I needed to sit back and let them ask all the questions they needed. And they needed to, once they committed, they were going to go. But they needed to be able to have the time to commit first. So I'm just fascinated by learning how to communicate with others, for one, but also just with your own self.
Yeah.
And that whole gift of learning how to listen to your body. So can you give us any examples of, in all the people that you've worked with, maybe of an example of like a mother who either learned to relate with her child better or a husband better and I know this is a lot, but even specifically since we're kind of talking about nutrition, what have people learned that have helped them or any specific stories you have of helping certain people?
Okay. Yeah. I love that. I love what we're talking about with nutrition and human design. They're both body based. Like it's focusing on how your body feels. Because I'm just putting words to what a person has to go feel, how it feels in real life when I'm talking about their human design. But what you're saying with the disc also is I bet you the C's, which you said was half the room, about 50% of the population is similar to Nadia, where they need time to assess a big important decision before they can come to this place of clarity and really feel like they have a clear answer.
Mm-hmm.
And
That makes
what you're
sense.
describing is less of the population, I would guess maybe 30%, where you are very decisive. You know immediately if it's a yes or no. So it's not that your big outgoing energy was maybe pushing them away. It could have been that you're decisive and you're wondering why they're not decisive.
Yeah.
But that's just not the way that they're designed. So now what you're saying is you're realizing you can hold space for the differences in all of us, and it's less stressful. Now you're not blaming yourself either. It's not anything you did. You're
Right.
not doing anything wrong. They're not doing anything wrong. You're just very different. And so when it comes to parenting and even in a relationship with a spouse, this is profound. Even just understanding their decision-making process is so eye-opening, because I'll give a couple examples, but like I have two boys, and I started learning about their human design when they were I want to say like 6 and 8. They're 17 months apart, my boys are. And when I found out their decision-making styles, I have one son that is like Nadia, emotional. He needs time. He has high highs, low lows, high highs, low lows all day. And then I have another son who makes decisions with his intuition and instinct. It's very subtle, it's very instantaneous. kind of like what you're describing yours is. But it can be hard to like really feel what's healthy and right for him in the moment. However, me knowing, and mine's totally different too. Mine's like yours. I have these gut feelings and I just know immediately, and there's no needing to wait on it. And I could easily plow over my kids and like just assume that's how they are, and I'm making the decision for everybody. So now I'm able to honor each of them, both of them, in such a different way. Whereas my one son needs time to make a decision. Even if it's an important decision, a big decision, I've noticed even with like more smaller decisions, I plant the seed way ahead of time. He needs time to ponder it through. And then I'm checking in every day or two. How are you feeling about it? How are you feeling about it? Because you don't want him to make a decision on a high because he might regret it. And you don't want these kiddos to make a decision on a low because they might regret it. And they might be really moody about it in a low. And then you're like, well, shit. And then it can cause an argument, actually. So at this point, you're just waiting for them to have some clarity. And when you can feel that they're a bit more neutral and have clarity, that's like a really good time that they can trust that this is the right decision for them. And with my other son, his is faster because it's instantaneous instinct knowing. And what I really learned for him is I never ask, are you sure? Are you sure? Because that completely throws him off because he was sure. And now I've just put this in his head and now it's not there anymore. Like the instinct acts real fast. So now like this feeling is no longer there, and that can leave him in his head now and super confused. So
Especially for a kid who's not sure of their way yet anyways in the world, right?
yeah, exactly. So alone has been extremely helpful. And I'm going to add another layer to this with my son that has the emotional, like Nadia. Um, you and I are similar, Jill, in this regard, where we don't make these emotions in our body on a 24/7 basis like our kids do. And we rather are more like neutral. Our emotions are just, we don't really, when we're by ourselves, we are like a calm lake. We don't really feel any emotions. But the moment we come into aura with people, we start feeling the temperature of the emotional realm, like, ooh, they're in a good mood, or ooh, they're not in a good mood, or they're mad, or they're upset, or they're frustrated, or they're happy. Like we're just tuning into all of that. And it's kind of like coming into our body and feeling amplified in a way that allows us to be super wise about how people are feeling. So it's a superpower that you and I have. And also, it could be so overwhelming because when you're around a moody kiddo, which was what was happening to me when he was really young, I started seeing these moods when he was like 2. And I would feel it and it would really escalate me. And I would get so mad and I was yelling and I was like a really terrible mom. I hated myself in those moments. I didn't recognize myself. That's a big piece. And I was like, what is wrong with me? And I realized I was amplifying his moods and it would just like ping each other and escalate and get worse and worse.
Yeah.
And so now that I am aware of this, like hardly ever do these escalations happen because I can immediately step out of it. And mind you, when those escalations were happening years ago, it was destroying my nervous system. My thyroid was low. My adrenals were shot. I was in so much fight or flight on a regular basis, constantly feeling and amplifying his emotional wave all day, all day. And that's so unhealthy. That was so unhealthy state to be in, so impatient with him. So now that I have more of an understanding, I can now, it's me. I have to work on myself, first of all, first and foremost, but then I also can see how the interaction is happening between the two of us. And it is like my thyroid is healthier. My nervous is, this doesn't happen anymore. I'm not in fight or flight. So from a cellular level, I'm a lot healthier, and it's just better to not be fighting with my kiddo all the time.
But you know what you just said there is one of my favorite books is The Four Agreements.
I
And
love
for
that book.
women in particular, the whole don't take things personally one,
Yes.
just for a quick review, it's
Yeah.
always do your
Okay.
best, be impeccable with your word, do not take things personally, and do not assume. And I'm not saying them in the right order, or I don't know what order they are, but for
Yeah.
me, in dealing with women a lot, I feel like the whole do not take things personally and do not assume are two very hard pieces for women. We take everything personally. And I can see, and because I've been there with Nadia as well, with her emotion, I take it personally. Like, how dare you speak to me like that? How dare you be crabby around me? I'm in a good mood. How can you be crabby? Or whatever the heck, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
And so, gosh, talk about saving some energy or teaching us how to reserve the
Yeah.
energy for what matters and to have to come from a more solid, level place.
Yeah, well, and not to we'll talk about taking it personally, but also not to like beat myself up over it. Like it's nothing I've actually done. I'm
Right.
not, I didn't make a baby with bipolar. Like
Right.
his moods are so high and low, it could be misinterpreted for that, but it's not. And then how scary and confusing that must be for our kids to be not understanding why they're high and low switching so often. And mind you, not everybody has, not everybody feels their emotions. Like my son, it's just
Right.
in human design, I can get quite detailed on how a person might be feeling their emotions, and this is just one of the ways that he has. And then now I can really like sympathize with him and be able to word things for him in a way that's like, are you feel I used to use the word bluesy, like, are you feeling a little bluesy right now? Because I would sense it. And I remember asking him that one time and he was like, yes. And then it just melted away. I could feel it melting because I had validated that he is down and he has no idea why. And you don't have to find a reason why. And in fact, trying to find a reason why can make it worse. So as
Hmm.
a mom, that's peace of mind as well. I don't need to be looking for a reason why are you feeling upset right now? Did something happen? Like really creating a mountain out of a molehill? You don't
Yeah.
have to do that. It's just like he's just on a low right now and this shall pass. And then talking to him about that as well. Now that he's getting a bit older, this emotionality really works well with when you're feeling high and good, it's a good time to be social. And when you're feeling low and down, it's a good time to have alone time. And so fostering this like container for him to thrive and know that it's okay. There's nothing wrong with him. I've done nothing wrong. It's just overall in the household, such a better, healthier environment for us.
Totally. You're so touching on one of the points of why I made, and I'm sorry to keep bringing up RT Warriors, because I don't even have a program for the kids anymore. But one of the reasons I first started it was I felt like, especially with social media and whatnot, kids these days are only seeing everybody else on a high. Everybody else has it all together. They're all smiling. They all have everything going on. And that's one of
Succeeding.
the
Yeah.
reasons why in what I post, it's a lot about Nadia's struggle. She doesn't land on top. She doesn't land, she doesn't start by doing the trick right or whatever it is. She works her way there and she fails a million times. And so I'm very passionate about teaching kids these days. And I think that would help their mental state so much,
Yeah.
especially as we get those teen years, that sometimes you're just in a bad mood and that's okay. And not
Yep.
every emotion and not every bit of every day is here. And if it
Yeah.
is, you've got a problem, really. You
Yep.
know, so I love that you're teaching. I mean, what a great gift to give a mother the ability or the space or however you want to say it, to the calm to acknowledge their moods. They get to have moods too. They're kids. And
Yeah.
we're always so busy worrying about ours and they just better step in line. But to look, I hate to say look down, but usually they're shorter than us. Isaac's not so much anymore. I'm actually kind of
Yeah.
looking up at
Right.
him now, but to just say it's okay to have a bad mood and it's okay to not be
Yeah.
happy right now and it's totally
Yeah.
normal and that's a good thing
Yeah.
and you're not
And
broken.
I'll give another example of this is a personal example, and then I can have a client. I have lots of client examples, but with nutrition, but like my husband also has an emotional just chemistry in his body. And I am a very fast decision maker and he needs a lot of time. Like there's other things in his human design, he needs a lot of time. Like it could take him 2 to 4 weeks to make an important decision. And I used to get so annoyed by this, so upset that he was like procrastinating is what I thought. And I would get if there was something I wanted to book, for example, or reserve like on a vacation,
Yeah.
and my initial instinct was like, okay, he's not ready right now. I'm ready, but he's not ready. So I'll give him time. And then it happened several times where I would go back to I'd get frustrated and be like, screw it, I'm just going to do it anyway. It was gone. And then I'd blame him that like because you didn't decide soon enough, this is gone. And I would get so mad. So that doesn't happen anymore because I get that he needs a lot of time, and I respect that, and it is what it is. So that just that simple thing is really helpful for my relationship with my husband even.
Doesn't it fabulous how God just made us all a little bit different?
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
A lot different
but
actually.
I mean, I'm sure in the space of the entire world, there's somebody that's really a lot like me, but just has like
Yeah,
one little
true.
difference. Can
Possibly.
we? I know we got to get on to the nutrition piece.
Yeah, let's talk about
I
that.
could go on with you for days about this, but
Yeah,
I
let's
want
do
to go
it.
back to something you said earlier about where you feel it in your body.
Yeah, okay.
Because when I first started hearing that, it took me a while to kind of figure that one out. Like just, but I can tell you now, I think that that's one of the reasons why I like to eat, is that I feel all my emotions in my gut.
Mm.
If I am nervous, I feel it in my gut. If I am
Hmm.
scared, if I'm guilty, if I'm mad, it's literally, if I think about where I'm feeling it, it's my stomach.
Yes.
Because I was thinking, years ago, I've spent many years thinking about this, but like it's not comfortable to be stuffed silly. But I just felt there was a connection between my gut and my massive hunger all the time. Like I'm a big
Yeah.
eater.
Yeah.
So other people feel it in their throat or in their head, or what can you tell us about that, or if it means anything different, or what can people learn from that?
Right, right, right. Okay, this is a very packed question, I would say, because my science mind is going to like the hormones, because you have several hunger hormones, one of them being ghrelin. If you've ever
Yeah,
heard of ghrelin, I imagine a little gremlin,
yeah,
and it's predominantly in your stomach, this hunger hormone, and levels rise and rise and rise to the point where then you cannot ignore it anymore and you have to eat. So in a way, if someone's trying to restrict too much, eventually you can't ignore that anymore, and it's just your physiology. So I always tell people, don't beat yourself up over this. Just because you are failing, you're not failing. Your body is meant to be like protecting you in that way. And then you have a fullness hormone, several, but one of them is called leptin, and leptin is this hormone that sends a signal that you're full to stop eating. And so there's that, and then there's also a hormone at the very, very end of your intestinal tract called peptide PYY, and your intestines are very long, and it really truly takes about 20 minutes for your food to enter your stomach and push through to the very end of your tract where that PYY hormone is. And then once that is triggered, because it senses food and bulk, it then sends a message up to your hypothalamus that says turn off hunger. So you have this mental hunger also that has to be dealt with. And but then there's also like the physical hunger and fullness, and then hunger and fullness also in the stomach. So you have a couple different places that's going to be impacting your urge to eat or not to eat. And one of the ways that you can trigger that like message from that PYY up to your brain faster is by eating more fiber, because that's what pushes through faster in your intestinal tract. It takes a long time for protein and fats to digest, or like simple carbohydrates. But when you get some high fiber types of foods, those are going to make it to that hormone triggering faster and fill you up faster. So that's the reason, one of the big reasons why people need to eat fiber. There's a bazillion reasons for fiber, but that's one if you're trying to fill up and lose weight. And then when it comes to like, you do have all kinds of what is the right word, like nerves in your stomach, so that when you're feeling like sad or mad, like you feel like this kind of nauseous type of feeling in your stomach. But I do think your stomach area is like your MVP, knowing your human design. This is where you're making decisions from. This is The gut is connected to the brain for everybody, but I can see where you're having very strong sensations felt there. But then I also get curious about like the emotional realm of you and your body, and you are somebody who picks up a lot from your outside, and are you finding healthy outlets to release that, or are you holding on to it as if it's your own, and that gets super uncomfortable, so then it's easy to use food to cope with those
yeah,
feelings versus having an outlet to release it, whether it be like exercising or taking a bath or just having alone time. Maybe you're not giving yourself enough alone time, which is a very common thing with moms. And that can really frazzle your nervous system. And then it's easy to want to reach for food.
yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
So those are the few different areas where my brain went when you asked that question. Did I hopefully I even
Yeah, totally, totally. I'm wondering how many other people, um, I'm wondering how original it is that I do feel a lot of emotions in my stomach.
I do
Like
too.
you
I
do
feel
too.
nauseous at the sight of things.
Okay, yeah. And some
Or
people would feel it more like in their head, for example. Like for example, Nadia
yeah,
gets migraines. Sometimes I wonder, and I do feel like sometimes they're
yeah,
stress induced.
the mental
And so,
pressure.
yeah, it's just
Yeah,
fascinating to me how everybody is
yeah.
different.
In human design, the head is considered a pressure center.
Okay.
And if you're really up here and pressuring to answer questions that don't really need to be answered, or pressuring yourself to know, pressuring yourself to have to be figuring things out all the time, that's just a lot of pressure that you're holding up in there that can create a lot of anxieties. Um, and so I can see where some people are more prone to that than others.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's also pressure, um, a pressure of stress pressure that people can have, and the pressure to do, the pressure to have a never ending to-do list. And this is coming
Oh, yeah.
from outside of you for some people, about 50% of the population. So all these external pressures that are pushing you to go, 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 and you're not listening to your inner, like, decision making compass that I had spoken about earlier, that's saying, stop, I'm tired, rest. And that pressure is just like, no, go, go. And I feel that a lot of moms get caught up in that also, that
Yeah.
external pressure.
I love, I feel like just knowing some of these things based on your own human design, as you're saying, if anything, it would just like help explain so much. For me, it kind of helps explain so much. And like I say, it gave me permission to actually, it's okay to be happy all day and do what you want to do all day. And I know there are not,
Yep.
not everybody is, I don't know if that's what that was about me that made me was supposed to be following my yeses,
Yeah.
but, and not everybody is like that, which I feel sorry for those people. That aren't
Well,
don't have the permission to follow all their yeses.
yeah.
But you were just saying like follow what lights you up. So can you I'm going to drive us back to nutrition real quick because I know I
Mhm.
can't keep you here forever. Can you give us any examples of how you've used human design to help moms with their nutrition specifically?
Yeah, sure. So one gal that I just recently was helping, I work with people for 30 days or more if they want to. And just to give people a little bit of a background, they photo journal. So I use an app that's made for dietitians, and my clients are taking pictures of everything they eat and drink, and they're documenting things, whatever pertains to their situation, so that I can start to recognize patterns. Because with the pictures, I can see things immediately, especially when I've been talking to them and I know what their goals are. I can start to see where things need to be tweaked and what they're doing well, and where, they might be being thrown off. And then this is doubly emphasized when I look at their human design. So one woman, she had a lot of emotional energy, which is fine. That's not a bad thing. But then it makes me wonder, how are you coping with all of this? What are you doing to support yourself with this? Do you acknowledge it? Do you have a healthy outlet for it? Do you beat yourself up over it? Do you use food to cope with it? And specifically looking at her emotionality, I could tell she was very prone to cravings and overeating, and uh, cravings, overeating, sugar especially. And then looking at her or hearing what she was saying, she had a health history of parents that used candy as a reward. She grew up in a very big family, so it was like, just eat as much as you can because you don't know if there'll be any more after the fact.
I know that one.
And and mom and dad or a mother that was very much a dieting mom that would say things to her about her weight. So she grew up in this kind of environment that I believe like set her up to have issues later on. But then when I look in her human design, I can see why she hasn't released those. She has very fixed way of thinking, talk about being up in the head and stuff. And these fixed ideas and fixed beliefs were so ingrained for like 50 years that she was having a hard time releasing them. And it was pinging her emotions. So it's like one domino would lead to the next domino, would lead to the next domino. And she even said in her own words, is this why my mind is sabotaging myself? And in a way, it came down to where she was wearing a continuous glucose monitor. So I could see that, um, yes, she was eating a lot of carbohydrates when she would eat. So there was that whole balance thing that we had to look at. But she was also very prone to cravings and very prone to overeating per like her human design chart. And she was validating all of this when I would ask her. So it wasn't a matter of, with her CGM, it wasn't a matter of like, I would never tell her to stop eating carbohydrates because this is just going to make it worse for her, worse for anyone, quite frankly. However, some people feel better with less. So we just had to distribute the carbohydrates more evenly throughout her day, therefore, so that she was not having cravings still and wasn't as prone to overeating because we weren't restricting anything. However, when it came to portions and distribution of carbohydrates, really honing in on that helped keep her blood sugar more stable, which then also helped reduce the cravings. So it's like one thing helps the other, helps the other.
Yeah.
And I was very mindful of her human design and mindful of like, okay, when you have an ideal or belief, how is that triggering your emotional, well, your emotional state, which then is triggering your nervous system state? How are you using food and say sugar? She was a past alcoholic, actually. So in the past, she was using alcohol to cope with your emotional state. How can, so this is what I was saying, coming back to being able to feel things in your body and not deny it, not run from it, is so much more effective when it comes to healing your body and having these more sustainable long-term goals. Because if she just continued to ignore like these conditioned ideas and beliefs about diet culture and food and sugar and continue to ignore her emotions, no matter what she did in the kitchen, it wasn't going to last.
Yeah. It
Does
is,
this
it
make
is,
sense?
it totally makes sense. And the word that keeps coming into my head, or what I keep envisioning, are all the mothers that are just beating themselves up because they don't have the self-discipline required to just put down the ho-ho, or
Yes.
they don't have the
Yeah.
willpower that they should have, or that they,
Yeah.
and poor Nadia, who's also, I always say her love language is sugar. I've
Yeah.
always said with her, I was trying to get her to eat the fiber and the protein first, and then have some sugar. I don't care. Like, it's not a bad word, and it's not your
Yep.
kid. You're supposed to eat sugar, and I'm not trying to deprive you or whatever.
Yeah.
But the order matters, and of course the amount matters in the long run. But teaching her how to try to listen to her body, and unfortunately, she doesn't really. Or at least she hasn't figured it out yet. She doesn't feel any major difference. Like if I started my day with my mom's maple bars that I always rave about because she has the most amazing homemade maple bar recipe. I mean, I could eat 12 and I would just
Yeah.
be feeling miserable for the rest of the day. I just, but at 12, Nadia hasn't learned yet
Mm-hmm.
how, if
Mm-hmm.
anything, and quite frankly, perhaps because of her different DNA than mine, perhaps she does feel better with more carbs than I do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what's so fascinating about all of this is the the fact that we are all different,
Yeah.
and it doesn't mean that you're wrong and I'm right, and or whatever. It doesn't mean that I'm doing it the right way and you're doing it the wrong way. It just
Yeah.
means that you're basically kind of teaching people how to give them the tools to listen to their body and to process things in a more healthy way. Basically,
Yeah.
I just
And to set them up for the most success for them to be able to reach their goals because
yeah,
it's not really about self-discipline and willpower. I feel like self-discipline and willpower, if you're relying only on that, it's never going to work because it ebbs and flows. It's sometimes it's on, sometimes it's not on. And you got to rely more on consistency
yeah,
and implementing like real practical strategies that you can that become habits quite
yes,
easily that you can sustain for a long time. And with the cravings things, um, you're right. Like if she wants to have a treat, I don't really see a problem with that either. To me, it's more the come from. Um, what is the come from of this craving? Is it because you're suppressing your emotions? So that would be a healthier outlet, like a non-food way to help your
right.
body. Or is it because you haven't eaten enough today? So you're in a calorie deficit and your body's just natural responses to what sugar.
Mhm.
So, or is it because you haven't eaten enough protein? Or is it because you're tired and you really just need a nap, not to eat? Your body is craving sugar to try to keep you awake, but really what you need is a nap. So I go below the craving and be like, why? What is it that's happened today or even over the last couple of days that's triggered this craving that we can then start to work with and start to change
And learn from.
and be
Yeah,
aware of? Yeah, and learn
yeah.
from and be aware of. Yep.
You're back to the root cause. I love
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
good. So
Yeah,
good. I mean, I could talk to you about 17 hours about all this.
I know it's
Tell us where people could learn more from you or how they could get a hold of you or where can they find you?
okay. I have a website. My website is kellyharringtonrd.com. And I am mainly with social media, I mainly go to Instagram, and my Instagram is dietitian.humandesign.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I'll put
And
all
it's
that down for
okay, yeah.
people
And on
too.
my website, like there's quite a few, there's a like a nutrition section and a human design section. And if you just want to know about your human design, you can look at that. If you are interested in nutrition, you could do that, which also has the human design as part of it. If you're interested, I do not force this on people at all. It helps me understand them, but if they're not interested in hearing about it, I don't talk to them about it. But I will say that that has never happened. I think that I'm calling in clients who are interested in understanding like a deeper level of themselves. But I have a 15-minute free call on there that you can book with me. It's quite easy. We'll talk on the phone and just like talk about whatever it is that you're interested in, like helping yourself with.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting here listening going, oh my gosh, people would be like, I don't want to call anybody an idiot, but you'd be stupid not to take advantage of that. Because I would pay to
Yeah.
spend 15 minutes with you. You're all.
Aw, thanks.
Thank you so much, honey. This was super
You're welcome.
insightful. I can truly just I can just feel how again the words permission and
Yeah.
understanding and space. These are all the words that are coming up for a mother
Mhm.
to
Love
have to
those.
understand that just the world does not need to operate exactly in the way that we have in our minds that it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
both for ourselves and for the people around us. And it's almost
Yeah.
like you're giving us a freedom
Yeah.
to understand others and to just calm down. Just calm down, people. They don't all have to be like us, okay?
It's so
And maybe that's just me
true.
speaking.
And I also will say, I know you're trying to wrap this up, but I will say that I think we parent based off what we know. I was parenting like my mom and dad parented, and
Yeah,
that did not work for my kids because they're totally different than I
yeah,
am.
yeah. That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So I
thank
love
you.
what you're doing. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. I love what you're doing too. So thank you so much for teaching us some stuff today.
You're
And
welcome.
we'll be talking to you soon, girlfriend.
Okay. Love it.
Thanks so
Thanks, Jill.
much. Bye bye.
Bye.